Hello and welcome back. This time we're looking at a system of equations that is composed of four equations. We have x1, x2, x3, and x4 as our unknowns. We're looking at the augmented matrix here. All we're doing is we're taking the leading coefficients. Like for instance, you see a 0 here, you see a 1, 1, 1. And as you can see, it's all written on this augmented matrix. Why I didn't say it here? Well, technically because the elementary row operations for these type of requirements, you can do an interchange two rows, you can multiply a row by a non-zero real number, you can replace by its sum with a multiple of another row. So that's what we did. As you can see, we have row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. So basically what we have done is, what we did down here is that row 1 and row 2 were interchanged, just like our axiom here says. So interchanging the rows gives us the same, nothing happens, all we're doing is basically moving the two rows as you can see here, right? Now that we ID our pivot point, which is 1 here, now we're ready to eliminate anything below that number. So anything right below has to equal to 0. So we can actually go back and we can follow the restrictions, which are 1, 2, 3. So number 2 says multiply a row by a non-zero real number. Number 3, replace a row by its sum with the multiple of another row. So since we know that we can do that, we can eliminate our number here. So we don't have to worry about the first 0 because it's already 0. But we can try to eliminate number 2 here. I'm going to mark it here. So how do we do that? So clearly we know that this is row 3. We're going to call row 3 is equal to row 3 minus, this is a number 2. I need a 2 times row 1 since row 1 is equal to 1. So times row 1. Then when I do this, I have row 3 is equal to 2 minus 2 times 1, which equals 0. And as you can see down here, it's already 0. Now the next one, it's a number 4 here. So because we already have a restriction, row 3 is equal to row 3. Oops, let me go back, which is 2. Oops, go back. That will be number 4 minus, and this is our limitations, 2 times R1. So minus 2 times R1, and this gives R1 is 1. We get a 2 there, and as you can see, it's here. Now R3 is equal to, now it will be equal to 1 minus 2 because of our limitation here, times 1 there as well. We get negative 1, and here's what we get, negative 1. R3 is equal to negative 2 here, negative 2 minus, once again the limitation here, 2, oops, minus 2, that will be minus 2 times 1, once again because here, and we get negative 4, and here's where we get negative 4. Now the last one is here, it's negative 1, so R3 is equal to negative 1 minus 2 times, and then the number here is 6, so here we get 12 negative, and then there's a negative, so negative 13th, and that's what we got down here. So now we need to move to the second row, which is, the fourth row, which is our 3 here. So I'm going to erase the information that I already have, and we will start all over. So let me remove this here, and we're going to do that again. So I'm going to use a blue color now. So for our number 3 down here, so that will be R4 equal to R4 minus, I need a minus because this is a 1 here. So I need to match that 3 then, so I need a 3 times R1. So now that I have that, so R4 equals to, here's my number 3, minus 3 times R1, which is simply 1, which equals 0. And here's where the 0 is. Now I have R4 equal to 1 minus, this is already my restriction, so minus 3 times 1, and I get negative 2. Here's my negative 2. R4 equal to negative 2 minus my restriction here, 3 times 1. I get negative 5. Here's my negative 5. And then I have R4 equal to, this is 2, minus my restriction is 3 times R1, which is 1, equal to, and we get negative 1. Here's my negative 1. And then R4 equal to, we got 3 there, minus, oops, go back, 3 times my limitation is R1, which is 6 there, 6 equal to, here we got 3 minus 18, and this is equal to negative 15, and here's my negative 15. Now that we have this process so far, now we need to identify our next pivot point. Now I'm going to go back to my red color. So my pivot point, because I have it all done for the first, second, and third row, we need to eliminate anything underneath our second pivot point. So this is my second pivot point, and we need to eliminate anything underneath that, right? And so now that we have our answers, I'm gonna erase once again to illustrate the point. There you go, and I don't need any of this here. Alright, so now I'm ready to eliminate anything under negative 2 here. So anything there, 2 and negative 2 must be eliminated. So once again, this is R2, R1, R3, and R4. So we're dealing with R3. So R3 is equal to, I want to eliminate R3, so 2, and then I already have a minus here. So I don't need a minus, so I will say plus 2 times R2, right? And so let me go back. You know what? Let me keep it as 2, and then I'll keep this as R3. That way it makes sense. So we have R3 equals to R3, which is 2 down here, plus 2, that's fixed. Just remember that's fixed at 2, times R1. And R1 is simply negative 1. So this equals to 0. And as we can see down here, I'm going to use a eraser here to illustrate that. So it's already 0. And then we have R3 equal to, we have my negative 1 here, so minus 1. And we have a plus 2, that's already restricted, times R2, which is R2 is negative 1. And we get negative 1 minus 2 equals to negative 3, and this is what we have down here. Then we have R3 equal to, we have a negative 4, and then restricted plus 2 times R2. R2 is simply 1. So here we get a negative 2. Here's my negative 2. R3 equals to 13, negative 13. We have a plus 2 times R1, which is 0. And this is simply negative 13 plus 0, which is negative 13. And this is what we have down here. Now that we're done with this, now we need to eliminate our number 5. I'm going to illustrate with the blue color now. That 5 has to go away. So we took care of the third row, now we need to take care of the fourth row. I'm going to erase here a little bit. So R4 is equal to R4. And keep in mind that's a -5 there. I need to compensate with that row 2. So I have, I'm sorry, I think I'm going ahead of the game. Oops. So instead of that 5, I think I went a little bit ahead. It should be -2 down here. Yeah, because we just eliminated 2. Yep. So we have R4 equal to, it's a -2 there, which is R4. I need a plus 2 times R. Well, that's also a negative 1 here. So I need to make that a -2 times R2. That way they contradict each other. So R2 is equal to -2, as you can see here, minus 2 times R2, which is -1, is equal to 0. And as you can see, down here, it's 0. Now R4 is equal to, and we have R4, which is -5 minus 2, that's restricted, times R2, which is here, that's a -1, is equal to -5 plus 2 is equal to -3, and it's down here. R4 equal to, here's a -1, -1. Limitation here is -2 times R2. R2, it's negative. Okay, wait a minute. We're doing the same one. No, we're good. So it will be -1, and we got a 1 there. So R2 times 1. So this is -3. There you go. The last one is R4 equal to -15, and that's down here. Minus 2 times R1, which is R2, which is 0. This is -15, and then plus or minus 0, it doesn't matter. -15. Here's what we got. Now that we're at this point, let's scroll down a little bit more. I'm going to erase once again here to illustrate that point. Now our next pivot point is simply, let's erase here. It's -3. That's our pivot point. Now we need to eliminate anything below that, which is -3. Once again, this is R3, this is R4. Wow. Okay, so since we need to eliminate R4, we can say R4 is equal to R4. And just keep in mind it's a -3, and that's a -3. I need a minus, simply R3. That way, R4 is down here, which is -3, minus R3, which is a -3, and this equals to 0, as you can see down here. Now R4 is equal to, we have -3, this is restricted to a negative, minus, and then R3 is here, which is a -2. This is -3 plus 2 is equal to -1. Here it is. And then the last one, which is -15. Whoops, let me try to illustrate the R4, or row 4th. -15 minus, this is a restriction, and then we have our -13 there, -13th. This is equal to -15 plus 13 is equal to -2, and that's my solution there. So now that we have this pivot point, I'm going to erase here. We can simply see that our final solution, it's based on what we have, is x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 equal to 6. So I did row 1. Now row 2, there's no x's for x1, so we can say, oops, that's a minus x2, that's a minus x3 plus x4 equal to, and that's a 0. Now R3, which is row 3, There's no x's on x1 or x2, but we have a minus 3x3 minus 2x4 equal to negative 13th. And then the last one, which is row 4th, we don't have x's on 1, 2, or 3, but we have a minus x to the 4th equal to negative 2. Now, if we want to solve this solution, basically we already know that x to the 4th or negative x to the 4th equals negative 2. Therefore, x to the 4th is equal to 2. And if we continue inputting that number into here, then once we get the number for x3, we put both into here and here, we get our final solutions. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching and stay tuned.